Chris Kilkenny. Chris is a speaker and a campaigner, passionate about equality, who draws strength from the personal experience of overcoming his own extremely challenging circumstances. He offers practical ideas on how we can make a genuine difference for young people like him. Chris Kilkenny.
Thank you very much. He said overcoming. Being the main word, I'm still overcoming them. I also don't have the same tailor, as you can see. Every time I come to Dundee, I've now spoken in the Steeple Church a few times, and I was sort of sitting at the table wondering on whether I was going to share this with you guys or not. But this is the most terrifying time that I've ever spoken in Steeple Church. Because some of you might have me on Twitter, and you'll realise that I lost my big brother about 3 weeks ago, and this was the last place where he really connected and had a relationship with someone. So when I realised that it was in this building, and I was going to be standing here speaking to you guys, I was physically shaking over there. And that's not usually me. I'm usually quite confident. To give you an example, I turned up at a school in Dundee, and I was doing 3 schools on the first day and 3 schools on the second day. Usually in that instance, you would just stay in Dundee. But no, my little brother had this flat to paint. So he phoned me and he says, can you come and help me paint this flat? I'm getting my carpets in the morning. So I turned up to the first school on the second day, really tired, and I said there was like 200 people, 200 teachers, and I said to these teachers, right guys, I'm really sorry I've been up all night. I turned up to my wee brother's flat and he was waiting there with a tub of Durex. So they just sort of stared at me as if to say, what? Do you mean? And that's usually me, do you know what I mean? And when I was looking at the programme and I was thinking to myself, I was looking at the people around the room, I'm thinking, what is your plan? What's your plan? Who would you like to help? What difference would you like to make? I mean, for me, what differences can be made? Do you know what I mean? When I was looking at the programme, the biggest word that I looked at and that I focused on was the word relationships and the difference that they can make. I'm going to give you a small example. So I mostly talk in schools and around about education and the difference that people can make on a face-to-face basis. So my 2 little brothers are twins, and they're absolutely mental. And they were in loads of different schools and loads of different placements, and they just couldn't get it right anywhere they were going. And one of my little brothers, Jonathan, right, he finished school, he'd done all right, everything was cool. So 6 months ago, he was going down the wrong path. He was starting to smoke. Stuff was not really going well for him. And we're going to McDonald's, and he just turns around to me and he goes, I'm going to join the Royal Marines. And I was just like, oh, all right, I'll get a Big Mac and fries. But he stuck to it, and he went on, and for 6 months, he trained hard, and he went into the Royal Marines. And at the end of it, I sort of said to him, what on earth made you want to join the Royal Marines? And he said, there was this guy at my school, this teacher at my school. And I said, was he a really good teacher? And he says, nah, but he was a sound guy. He was a sound guy. So what I'd found out from my little brother is that this guy, this teacher, who you wouldn't believe if I told you his name is Mr. Love, it actually is. This teacher, every time he used to go to class, my wee brother would maybe muck about or do whatever. And this guy would come over and he would tell stories to my little brother about his life and about what he'd experienced, about what he'd been through in the Royal Marines, and about how his story, do you know what I mean, could help Jonathan to go on to a better life. And my wee brother sort of just nodded it off as if to say, aye. But then see later on in life, a wee bit later on, it sort of clicked. My wee brother remembered that this guy had built a relationship with my little brother. This guy wasn't just a teacher. He wasn't just Mr. Love. He was a person. Every single person in this room might be applying or applying for applications for people. Not for numbers or statistics or to raise attainment or to help young people that are coming from care experience backgrounds. You're applying, you're writing down for a person. You're writing down on behalf of Chris. You're writing down on behalf of Jonathan. So this teacher, he never had a clue that he'd had this big an impact on my little brother's life. So I decided I was going to go and speak at the school. So I spoke at the school, and I told the story, and I got to the end, and I said, and there was a teacher in this room that made such a big difference to my little brother's life. And I kind of said it as if it was going to be a battle. Like, everybody was looking around, oh, I hope it's not me, because it was a bad difference. And I said, the basis of what you did was you had a conversation with my little brother every day. And that conversation, that time to have a conversation with my little brother where you gave a little to them, you gave a little to him, he's now took that and changed the whole trajectory of his life. Just from you being a person and speaking to him as a person. That would be my example for see when you're thinking to go away, your inspiration when you're thinking to go away and do applications or to read applications or to write reports. It's quite easy for us all to sit there, and I've done it myself, and I sit down and I write, and I forget who Jonathan is, and I forget who Nicholas is, and I forget who Christopher is, and I forget who Kenny was, because we become statistics, and we become numbers. And we want to get the best out of the reports. We want to get the best out of our applications. We want to get the most amount of money. But what you need to really remember is, it's about relationships. It's about finding the right people to connect with the right people. And when you do that, you start changing lives. And Mr. Love would have never even known that my little brother went on to go to Royal Marines and changed his whole life had I not been an annoying person and went to his school on his in-service day and told him. And there's probably not enough of that. There's probably not enough people going around, because it's hard for you to make a difference to someone's life and then know 10 years later that you did make a difference to your life. But if you take away the small example of using relationships and power and conversation, and when you're putting in your applications, putting that at the heart of it, I guarantee you're going to change so many lives. I guarantee it, just like Jonathan's, and just like I have over the last few years as well. And see when you do that, see when you even have one tiny little thing that you feel goes right for yourself. It's quite easy to put in an application and be knocked back, or to go to work and feel like you've had a bad day. But I'm telling you what, see when you go to work and you have a good day, or you feel like something's impacted someone well, or you hear a story like Jonathan's, or even if somebody just turns up, I want you to celebrate your win as well. I want you to pat yourself on the back. I want you to hug that young person or hug that person, if they'll let you hug them. I want you to celebrate your win. I want you to pat yourself on the back. I want you to go away and tell yourself you've done a good job, because at the end of the day, you guys wouldn't be sitting in this room if you didn't want to help other people. And that in itself is inspirational. Someone once said, he's high up in government, the difference between hope and hopelessness for young people is a quality education. The difference between hope and hopelessness for young people and people is just one person who cares. One person at any one of these tables that cares enough about that person to be crazy about them, to follow them on, to push them over the line that they need to get over. That's all it takes. That's the difference between hope and hopelessness. And I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.